There's something that burnout took from me that I don't hear talked about often. It didn't just drain my energy, it didn't just make me feel more tired and exhausted. Burnout made me stop trusting in myself. At some point, it wasn't about exhaustion anymore. It was about the quiet realization that I didn't believe my own promises at that point. And I would tell myself I was going to do something, and I wouldn't. And after a while, that really starts to mess with how you view yourself. And that, of course, it becomes a problem. Broken self-trust does not have to feel dramatic. It's not some big failure or some big breakdown that you just instantaneously have. It's quiet. It mostly looks like starting things and not finishing them, making plans and abandoning those plans, and my favorite, because I did this a lot, saying I'm gonna start Monday, and then Monday rolls over and nothing gets done. And it's just a vicious cycle. I'll just start it Monday. I'll do it Monday. Come next Monday, I'll start this habit. And it never really sticks. And Monday keeps coming and going, and you're the same. And every time that happens, you kind of feel this small disappointment in yourself that you really don't want to talk about. Not to anyone else, especially not to yourself. Sometimes we're in denial. And that's when you start questioning things like, why can't I just follow through? Why do I keep falling off? What's wrong with me? And that doubt builds up slowly. And so your self-trust starts to diminish. For me, this wasn't really laziness. It wasn't a lack of ambition. It came through years of pushing myself more and ignoring these feelings that I was having with myself. It was just years of telling myself to work harder. It was telling myself to be more disciplined. It was ignoring the feeling of feeling tired, of burnout slowly creeping in. And eventually, it didn't just take my energy, that took my confidence from myself. When you're exhausted long enough, even those small commitments start feeling heavy, and that trust that you have, that confidence that you have in yourself starts to kind of break down. Yeah, you stop believing in that you're someone who can actually follow through with your promises. And trust me, I get it. I've been there myself. So for a long time, I thought the solution to this was forced discipline, forced consistency, making these big promises, making these big plans, making strict routines for myself. And sometimes that even meant starting over completely because I thought, well, this isn't working out. Let me go back to square one, and just giving up really easily before seeing any glimpse of an outcome. So I thought if I'm more disciplined with myself, I'll start to trust myself more and more. And so what this did was, it just created a bigger problem. And it made bigger promises that I could not keep. And so with those bigger promises, bigger disappointments in myself. So I started to lose that trust in myself, and I kept trying to fix that part of me. I kept trying to fix my life without really fixing the root of the problem, without fixing the relationship I was having with myself. And when we try to do that, it just never works. What I'm slowly learning about trust is that you can't build it through intensity. It cannot be forced. It's built through being consistent, but without being forced. Again, you cannot force an outcome. You can't. So trust eventually comes from a couple of steps. making smaller promises, following through more often than not, stopping before burnout, and listening to yourself. Listening instead of overriding those feelings that you may be having. This is interesting because I had to go through an experience yesterday. Right now, while I'm still building Reboot 30 and working on myself through this journey, documenting it, and my future ideas for this channel, for Reboot 30 itself, I'm also working on a mini project, which I will get into detail later on. I will share what that is in future videos. But part of that mini business or mini project that I'm trying to create, aside from Reboot 30, it involves me having to go out and having small conversations with local businesses. And so that means I have to put myself out there. I have to actually go physically in person and speak to people. And I'm social. I am. I have my days where I'm more social than not. But I grew up an introvert. So making conversation sometimes is easy for me and sometimes it's not. And so having to go out and have these conversations, I was nervous. I mean, it was nerve-wracking for me. And so yesterday when I had to go out, that was just a small promise that I was making myself. It wasn't this big commitment. It wasn't this big promise. It wasn't this anything huge that, you know, if I don't do this, I'm going to mess everything up. No, it was just something small. And I had told myself, this is a small step for this project. I'm just going to go. I'm going to be calm, confident, and have a small conversation with someone. It was nerve-wracking. It was. But having to do things that are uncomfortable for you outside of your comfort zone, that also builds that trust. Yes, I was nervous. Just going out, sitting in my car, I had to take a deep breath or two just before I drove off and had these conversations. People I don't know, but doing things like that, having these simple conversations with people, that counts. It counts as a win because that's how you slowly, step by step, build confidence, build that trust in yourself. And really that's what this is. That's what Reboot 30 is all about, right? Is trying to grow, to build yourself. And so everything I talk about in my videos up to this point, which really aren't that many, but it's all lived experience. Like I'm living through this. Everything that I'm putting out there is me like currently living through this. And, you know, it takes a lot to show up, you know, but showing up, even small steps, like a small conversation or like recording a video or simply scripting a video like this, it starts to rebuild that trust you have in yourself. It certainly is for me, quietly, but it's intentional. And so that self-trust in me is starting to grow, which is nice because I'm seeing that different energy in myself nowadays. So right now what I'm trying, or what I'm not trying to do, is overhaul my life. I'm not planning a huge, big difference. It's not that I'm expecting a big change from me today compared to how I was yesterday. No, it's a small process day by day. So right now I'm focusing on smaller commitments. I'm pacing myself honestly, intentionally. I'm doing less than I was before, but being consistent with that. So yes, it's a lot less. It might not even feel like a step, but it is. Small little steps day by day. If you're showing up consistently, it counts. Trust me, it counts. And of course, that also, something that I'm also working with myself on is allowing imperfection. I'm imperfect. We're human. We make mistakes. That's actually, time to derail again, not really. But for instance, me recording these videos, YouTube, I've always wanted to make videos, make a channel. and document something online, this isn't easy for me. Okay, and sometimes we get into that trap of seeing other YouTubers, these bigger channels, and seeing how confident they are with the camera, with recording themselves, with just how they grow their channel, and you start comparing yourselves with them. I've done it myself, where it looks like they're perfect on camera. They're perfect. Their videos are just perfect. They're done perfectly. The reality is, no, they're not. It's a lot of it is edited. It is. A lot of their mistakes, we just don't see it. That's why sometimes I even leave small little mistakes that I make. I leave them in these videos because I'm just not perfect. And I'm not looking for perfection. Imperfection with consistency is a win. I mean, that's just how you start building trust in yourself again. So that's why I leave some of my imperfections. I don't speak as fluently as I probably should. But I leave those imperfections in because it makes us human. This process isn't for perfection. It's to just rebuild ourselves. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. And I'm learning as well that stopping and taking a pause, taking a breather is so helpful, so useful for just work in general, anything that you're doing. Back then, I would push myself. I would feel that feeling of exhaustion creep in, and I would ignore it, put it to the side, and just push harder. And I would work harder, thinking, okay, this is discipline. I'm going to push through it. But it's not. It's not. You're ignoring who you are. You're ignoring your interior feelings, and you're not following through. That's not taking care of yourself. It's not. And sometimes taking a step back builds that trust in yourself because you're listening to your feelings. You're listening to yourself. Sometimes we have to pace ourselves in that way intentionally. And by doing this every day, by doing this hour by hour, day by day, week by week, that consistency doesn't have to be perfect. That consistency is how we start to rebuild that trust in ourselves. If you've stopped trusting in yourself, you feel like you're there in your life right now, I don't think it means it's because you're broken or that you've given up. I think it's just that you're tired, and you've been tired for a long time in your life. And that trust, that self-trust is not something that you miraculously just wake up with one day and you're cured, you're done, you've achieved it. No, it's a slow process. And it's something that you can rebuild in yourself slowly over time. Me, myself, I'm still learning this. I'm still kind of figuring things out. It's one step at a time, but I'm showing up. And that's what counts. Consistency without forcing it. So if you're here, if you're watching this, I feel like you yourself have not given up on yourself yet. You're still willing to fight through and rebuild this self-trust in yourself as well. So I will continue to document what I'm learning, what I'm going through, my experience. If you're going through something as well and trying to get out of this rut in your life, you're in your 30s and you feel like you're left behind or stuck, or you need that momentum, leave a comment below. Tell me what you're struggling with. Tell me what you're working on, what you would want to work on. I feel like this isn't a process or a journey you should be taking on your own. You shouldn't be. You're not alone in this. You're not the only one who feels this way. So let's get together. Let's try and work towards this goal of rebooting our lives together. Because you can do this. You're not alone. I know this. I'm sure you know this. So let's work together towards this. But I thank you so very much if you did watch up to this point of the video. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. I thank you so very much. I hope you and yours are well. Keep going, one step at a time, and I will see you in the next one.